Hello, welcome for more Haskell. Welcome to more Haskell. Plan today is to finish off making functions work in Line and finish up this little project I've been doing. Let's just get into it. So the thing I've been working on is adding functions to this pipeline language. I've got the parser working, although I don't have parameter support yet. But you can give the name of a function, you can give its types. So this is the type within the pipeline, or the pipe, as I've been calling it. And then you have the definition of the function, which in itself is just another pipeline. Here it's a pipeline consisting of one call, but it could be a pipeline that does more things. So I have the parser working, and I put the structure in place to pass it into the interpreter, but I haven't defined those. I haven't made those work interpreter yet. It's just a dummy implementation. So plan for today is to make this work by calling the pipeline, basically. And then if there's time, I'll come back and look at adding parameters to this. But then that's probably as much as I'm going to do, and I'll wrap it up with this and do something different from next week. Okay, so in the code, in fact, let's look at the spec first. So we have this is the test case. So write this out, but it's saying, oops, I'll write it back over. The function is defined as being ID, which goes from void to void, void to text, and then indented the definition of this function, which is just UID, then an empty line, and then the main pipeline, which is just ID in this case. So when I run this, it should define this function and then run the pipeline consisting of ID, which runs the contents of this, which is UID, and then it should all be good, but it doesn't work yet. So if I run the tests, I get a failure because it says hi, which is my placeholder implementation. Okay, so if I go to the interpreter itself, we have got, if I can find the code. This is the type checker, and this is calling the function. Oh, where is it actually saying hi? Just search for it. Oh, it's stuck in input mode. It's not very helpful. Okay, now I search for hi. It's up here. Okay, cool. Yeah, right. So this is what I was doing last week. So define functions, and we insert a function that takes 2 arguments. I don't know what the arguments are. They must be the same as built-in. What type of function is it? One of these is going to be the input. Can't remember what the other one is. Oh, list of text. So this is the parameters passed to the function, which I haven't done yet. And this is the value from the previous stage in the pipeline. Okay, and at the minute, it just returns text value. It says hi. But what I really want to do is, I think what I want to do is just call eval, because this is a pipeline. And we kind of know how to evaluate pipelines because we pass in a list of all the functions we know about. Then the pipeline itself and the previous result, which should be the value inside here. And it'll return an eval result, which is the OK and then the thing. So when we just looking at how we unwrap the result stuff. Okay, if it's OK, then we say call built-in. I'm going to rename to call function, I think. List of all the functions we've encountered so far. The function itself fn in this case. Yeah, so the name is the function to call, any arguments, and then the previous value. And down here, we look up the function by its name, and if we get it, then we call it, passing the args and the value, args and then the value. Where do args come from? I don't know. Oh, they come from this definition. Okay, so anyway, we come back to here. We should be able to take. No, trouble is this takes a program, and I need to take. I've got a pipeline basically. This is my pipeline, and I somehow need to call this. We don't even have a result actually. We have a value, but I can turn it into result by just saying OK on it. Okay, so let's say something like define function, and it's going to take a list of functions because we need that to be able to call this thing down here. It's going to take a pipeline, and it's going to take a value, and it's going to return a function definition. Is that even a thing? It is not. What's the type of these things? Function signature. No. Function. So define function given all the functions we got, the pipeline, some value is going to be a function. What's type of function? Forget, there's the trouble of doing this once a week. I don't think that's what I want actually. No, it is. Okay. It's function signature. That's the thing I want to return. Sorry. Function signature is when it goes text value to eval result. Okay. Can we go back? We cannot go back. Can we go back? Okay, this needs to be function signature. Okay, so what you'll be able to do now is something like eval pipeline, which doesn't exist yet. I'll spit that out. Or could we just create a program? We could just call eval, couldn't we? Because a program is functions in the pipeline. All right, functions. But these are fn's. What? No, that doesn't seem right to me. I think I might have a mismatch here. So call eval, and that takes a program contains functions and pipeline. But I need to pass in the initial type as well, which is this value here will become the input to whatever we're running. So we won't start with OK void, we'll start with OK v in this case. So I'm going to write a new thing. So I'll call this eval pipeline. Oops. And we will give it the functions, and we will give it the pipeline, and we'll give it, I guess, result, which is OKB. And then this go will just be split into its own function. And becomes eval pipeline. And then this becomes eval pipeline, I think. Yeah. And this becomes eval pipeline. And there's this. Okay, so we want a function signature. Function signature, and the type of function signature is, it's not very helpful. It's something which takes 2 arguments and returns something. So I'm going to have a function which will take the arguments we don't care about yet, and it takes some value v, and it does that with it. We're going to drop this v out, and then we'll drop the value out of here. Okay, and what's it saying now? Redundant lambda. Why not write that? Because I don't think that works. Oh, it does work. Okay. Okay, so in here, we're going to call define function, turn the thing to us, and it takes the functions we have so far. That means that we won't be able to call functions from the future, I don't think. So we can only call things that have already previously been defined in this file. And then it takes a pipeline. And then that should be it. I'll be very surprised if that just works, but give it a go and see what happens. Test pass. Okay. So if I go back to the interpreter spec, I can write a slightly more interesting function. So evaluates a function containing a pipeline. So in this, I'm going to do something which got multiple steps in it. So my input is going to be, let me just think about this. So we could have a function called ID, which goes from void to text, and the implementation is going to be UID, and we would pipe that through something which does strip. We got strip. I can't remember what built-ins we have. Either strip or replace. Yeah, I could try just writing that. See if it works. Before I do, what are my built-in functions? We have got strip. Okay. Which I could probably change into replace in future, but yeah. Okay, so it's going to be ID colon void to text, new line, indent with a tab, and it's UID strip, and knowing escaping of quotation marks. That, and then skip that. That's my input. If I run it, it should be that. Oops. And it is not that. It doesn't parse it properly. Okay, so it's not parsing the pipeline properly. Is that readable in any way? It's very hard to read. Okay, I'll go back to the parser spec. Oops, let me just grab that text. Go back to the parser. Ah, yes, okay. That was actually fine, but I forgot to put the main pipeline in. So I then call ID. I just switched to Mac in work, and now my muscle memory is being eroded by pressing Command rather than Control. Oh, that passed. Good. Okay. So now what I might do is go back to interpreter. I'm just going to change this from call built-in to call function. But this I'll rename from functions to built-ins, because that's what it is. And I'm going to get rid of strip, and I'm going to replace it with replace. And we will replace this with eval replace and eval strip will be eval replace. And I missed one of them. Okay, and this will take 2 arguments. We should just replace x with y. Argument error, that 1 is the number it's expecting, isn't it? Argument expected C. No, expected E, but got A. Expected E, okay. But lost it now. Where my thing was. So this should be expects 2. Okay. Let's just see how many things that breaks. 3 things called strip. Okay, and they're all in the interpreter. So my plan is to replace the built-in of strip with built-in replace, and then define strip as its own function. So I want to rewrite this thing, but I'm going to start making it more complicated with 2 functions. So, oops. Strip here should be replaced. And that's going to replace that with nothing. And it should be when calling replace. And then this should be also replaced with the empty string. I think that's probably it, apart from the one I was currently writing. So just make sure there's only 1 failure now. There are still 3 failures. Okay. Time calling replace expected text time, but actually got a parser error. Is it because the parser doesn't handle multiple inputs, multiple parameters? Let me bring up the spec. So parses a pipeline argument. Can we also parse a pipe and multiple arguments? So we say thing and this thing and thing. It should be, get rid of that one. That should also have thing in it. And you can't have a pipe that doesn't have a second call, so we'll get rid of that. And where's bracket? Okay, does that pass? No. Okay, so it seems that the parser itself is broken. I was hoping not to do more parsing today, but it only takes a single argument at the moment. Is that easy to fix? I wonder. Parse pipeline, parse call, identifier, and parse args. It's a string literal separated by commas. Right. And the string literal is a quote, another quote, and a quote. So I'm missing the comma out. Separated by comma, can be separated by space? Do you have anything else in the specs that does multiple arguments? So we got a call, pipe and argument. One I just added. Pipeline's only one argument. And then these are functions. Nope. Okay, so I might be able to change this to be separated by space. H space 1. Oh, that works. Oh, it might not work because it might be ambiguous at this point. It might eat some other space later on, but we'll see. No, many things are failing. Okay. Yeah, so that was not cool. Let's put it back to the comma. And let's go back to my spec. And I'll just change this to use a comma. I think there's no space allowed in there. Does that help at all? Yes, so the parser passed, but the interpreter is failing. Okay. So in my calls to replace, whoops. I cannot search replace. Actually, there needs to be a comma in there and a comma in here. Then hopefully we're down to one failure. Yep, and that's because I'm calling strip, which doesn't exist anymore. So with this one, I can say replace this with replace, and replace a dash with an empty string, and that should be a comma. It's impossible to read. Run the tests. Hopefully everything passes. Good, it all passes. So now I can write the test I really wanted to write a second ago, which is it evaluates multiple functions. Two. So I'm going to grab this. So the thing I want to write here is we have, I'm going to define strip. This needs to take an argument. So I will need to add arguments when I'm doing that. Can I write it with a series of things? Okay, so let's write something very stupid. So I can write ID, which is void to text. The definition of ID will be UID, and then we will replace just dashes with nothings. Missing the pipe character here. And then I'll write another function which is called no threes. We should go from text, to text, and the definition of this will be replace 3 with let's replace it with 4. And then my pipeline will be ID through no threes. And that should give me the answer of 1, 2, 4, 4, 5, 6. Right. Okay, so this stays the same. Let me try another function, which is going to be no threes. And that goes text to text. And the definition of that is replace. And we will replace 3 with 4. And then we'll have a pipeline. Okay, and if that works, we should have that. It did not work. And it didn't parse properly. Okay, look at what I've done. So we've got IDE, right, new line, tab, pipeline, an empty line, and no threes, type to type, new line, tab, replace, 3 with 4, multiple new lines, and then the pipeline itself. I have an example in the parser of multiple functions. So here I have something like ID, new line, tab, implementation, multiple new lines. Is it the comma thing again? Oh, is it? Yes, it is. Oh goodness, thank you. That would take me ages to spot it. Okay, that's kind of cool. Kind of cool. Not great because it's actually the wrong answer, but it was the comma thing and it ran that time. Oh, I didn't pipe through no threes. Run that. We're looking good. All test passed. Thanks, Tim. That saved me a lot of hunting for a comma. Okay, so the only thing left, I guess, we've got 30 minutes. I can try and see if I can parse arguments, functions, and then I can write my definition of strip in a non built-in way. Okay, so parser spec. Actually, let's just commit that. This is basic function support. Okay, and then back to the parser spec. So can say here it parses arguments to functions. So what are we going to get back here? I should have picked a simpler example. This is what I wanted to copy. Again. Okay. So this has got whatever. I'm going to say strip. And I think this was in the plan. Yeah. So it has a list of items. They don't have types. So it's just going to be like strip. We don't need to need brackets. Might make life easier. Avoid text. No, it's not going to go text to text. And the definition is going to be, oops, there. We're going to replace x with that. I'm not going to make it work. Okay, so when we parse it, it should say function. The name of the function is strip. It goes from text to text. And the definition of this is call replace, and then two sets of arguments. Oh, that's really interesting. Because this x is going to be, we don't have this concept of variables yet. So I'm going to need to make, I'm going to do a lot of things, I think. I'll need to extend this function so it takes arguments. I think. Do I? I think I need to extend the function so it takes arguments. And then I'll need to be able to, I need to change the definition of call so that it can take either literal values or variables. And then in the interpreter, I need to build an environment to hold those variables so we can get them back again later. A lot to do in 30 minutes. Okay, let's start with call. So data args, let's call them parameters, is either going to be literal and text, or it's going to be a variable and it's got name, which is text. Deriving stock show an equal. Now this is no longer text, but params. That's a single parameter. So this is going to be a list of parameters. So much stuff that can be broken right now. So let me just comment that out for a second because that's not the one I'm going to fix first. So it should now call with literal thing. And we need to export params. this and params. Okay, so now we should be, oh, we can know, no. Oh, sorry, I need to also export the constructors for the params. Now we can import literal. Okay. What's the problem with literal? Yeah, why did it not do it right? You just import every constructor for param. Okay. And here these are both literals. Literal thing and literal thing. And this is also literal. Which seems to be good here. And then in the parser itself, I have a bunch of problems. So parse args will return a list of params, and this is going to be just literal for now. I need to lift that into the parser. Oh. Oh, that's tricky. Okay. So that separated by commas. Okay. No, probably enough to fix the parser and then the interpreter. So we expect it to be literal, and we will import that. Use fewer imports. What do you mean? Okay. Have we got any other errors in here? No. Okay, and then finally, the interpreter itself, which life is going to get the most difficult. So these args are no longer lists of texts, they're lists of params. And function definition is function signature, which is no longer a list of text, that is param. Okay, at some point, yeah, okay, this is the thing, right? So what I think I need to do is write something that will look up the parameter against an environment, but for now, it'll only return the literal. So, just write that. So something called lookup param, and for now it doesn't have any environment, so it's going to take text. No, it's going to take a param, sorry, and it's going to return a text value. So lookup param of literal x is just some x, and lookup param of anything else is going to be an error. I don't support variables yet. this. Okay, and then this should be just lookup param. And the same thing here. And same thing for both of these. X and lookup param of y. A bit long. Let's split it over a couple of lines. Okay. And then we must have another one somewhere. You know, it says it got 2 errors. One of them will be the H thing. Ah, this one. I just missed something in the parser spec. Okay, one. Nope, still 2 errors. One error, and that should be the H spec. Yep. Okay, did the test still pass? Good. But I don't have variables yet. Now, I should be able to say this is a variable with the name x and a literal with the empty string. And this, of course, should fail because I haven't implemented this yet. Okay, that's the parser. So parsing a call is identifier, and then any arguments after it. That's not what I want to do. I want to be parsing functions, not calls. Right, functions are more complicated. Makes sense. So we get identifier and then the colon. And here I want to say params. I'll write a new parser for this. I need to put them into the function somewhere. Parse params is parser list of param. And parse params. Okay, so what I want to do is basically match a character, which is this, which we check away. Then we want identifiers, I guess. Identifier, is it part identifier? Yeah. First identifier, and this is going to be separated by this comma again. Okay, so a whole bunch of those things. And then we will have a character which is closing bracket. So parse identifiers own is no good. So what we need to do is take bar and lift it into this. No, Okay, so parse identifier. I think if I get rid of the var, I should end up with a list of text. That's my thinking. So give my text with param. This gives me back parser text. Okay, I might write this out because I find it a little bit hard to follow through it. We ignore the character. Then we do that. And then we ignore this character. Okay, and this is IDs. From that, and the ID should be a bunch of text. So this should fail because it wants params and it's got texts. I could say pure in this point, but anyway, it's still texts. And I don't want that. I want to take var. I'm going to map over those texts. Okay. Now I have my params, but this function doesn't support them yet. So it's got a name and it's got types, but before that, it's going to have some params. Do I want? No, I don't quite want that yet. That's not right. This should actually be a list of text. So these are the names of the things which will get used later. I'm going to change this to be text again, which means I can drop this, which means I can drop that, but that actually means I can also, I think, write this the same way as it was before. So we have a character, and then that. And then character at the end. Get rid of that, and then get rid of do. Okay. So we go identifier and then params, which is okay, but that assumes we always have params. So if we don't match the bracket, then what we want to do is just return an empty list. So can I just, I don't know if I can do this or not. Can I say or pure empty list? The compiler thinks I can, but I don't know. I've got 20 errors now, so obviously we use this function quite a lot. It'll take a while to find them all. Just let VSCode do it. Go back to parser spec. Okay, anything that touches functions will be broken. So this should be just an empty list. This is just an empty list. Just an empty list, and that's also just an empty list. Empty list. Interestingly, a list containing X. That's the only case I have where we expect to match something. Okay, and then in the interpreter, I'm guessing we have an error in here somewhere. Yeah, we'll just ignore those for a second. Okay, so does this work? one failure. Interesting. Okay, so it mostly worked, but it didn't work in this case. So a bit like the way it was before. Did I save the file? Apparently yes. Okay. So here we go. Parse params for that. So pure identifier. Now we want to get rid of the space. That's the problem. So here, I want to just ignore any space that comes after that. I think I can put it there. Okay, we're getting closer. So this, oh, that's interesting. Okay, so in the definition, in the actual call, I need to match the identifier. Okay, so we have it for numbers being passed in, but for call, we had literal thing, but we don't have any variable thing. Right. So back to parsing call. So parsing args. We can either be a literal, or we can be a just an identifier. So we can say we're parse single arg is a parser that returns a param, and parse single arg is try literal lifted into string literal, or it's going to be a var lifted into a into a parse identifier. It's going to be, that's going to be parse single arg. Rename it because I don't like the name, so I'll just call it parse arg. Is that magically going to fix my test? It did not. It caused many problems. So I guess it parsed that. That's nice, but it didn't parse literal. And it expects really interesting. Okay, so if it can't match anything, it's still succeeding. Right. So maybe I don't want the try in there. I think what the try is saying is the first one fails, it automatically runs the second one, whereas this lets it fail. I don't know though, I'm just guessing. No, exactly the same problem. Does parse identifier match no things? Right, should not be some. It should have been some. Okay. That's interesting. And this fails because of the comma thing again. Oops. So my identifier parsing would accept an empty string as an identifier. That's not good. That would have caused me problems later. In the spec, the one that's failing is this one, I think, because it should be a comma at this point. So here we have variable x and an empty literal. Okay. Okay, so in the interpreter, really running out of time here, it handles parameters. Okay, we'll take some simple input. And make sure it works. So our function will be, I'm actually going to write strip. So strip of x is text to text. And the definition of this is replace x with the empty string. And then if I say UID built in and pass into strip of dash, I expect this to just hit the dash out. Okay, if I run this, the parser should work, but the parser does not work. I bet it's a fucking comma again. Every single time. Try it again. Good, okay. And I failed because I put this error in saying I don't support variables yet. In my lookup function. Okay, so now I think I need to use my function signature to it's going to take a list of params and a value, but it also needs an environment. So the type of the environment is type it as for a map from text to what value, I guess. No, these are always text. They don't support any other types of parameters. So it's a map of text to text. So it'll say x is equal to just the empty string or the string containing dash, whatever it is. Okay, so that should have broken a lot of stuff. So this doesn't support the environment. This does. Okay, so the environment I'm going to pass into lookup. Down here, so lookup is going to take a parameter, it's going to take the environment, and return text. And if it's literal, we don't care about environment. And if it's not a literal, so this is a parameter of x, variable sort of x. It's going to be a runtime error because we're not going to kind of time to write a checker for this, but we can say case m dot lookup x in env of. Now what? So now we need to say if it is left. Is this how this works? Or is it just? It's probably just. Actually, the lookup. So if it's just some value, then return that y. If it's nothing, we will error with missing. Cannot find variable x. Okay, so we have to look up. So we need to fix all these other things. What's function signature? It is list parameters and then the environment. So we've got list parameters, then environment. And I had these the other way around. Let me just fix that. So environment comes first. Screw that. Okay. Okay, UID and replacer fixed. Parsing time, because that comes from a void, should be fine. We actually don't care about the environment. And here we also don't care about the environment. And formatting the time. I'm just going to say, for sake of simplicity, you cannot call it with a variable. But it is looking up x, so it does need the environment. Environment, like that up, and then here, we just ignore it. Oh, no, that's looking up as well. Okay. Right. So those have it, but my function definitions don't. And why is that the case? Okay, so my signature has changed. So now the signature is I need to thread the environment through. It's two things. One is I need to create the environment at the right point, and the second is I need to feed it through. So this argument is a list of parameters. So that's either literal things or variables. I called this args previously. Okay, and now we need to do some of those args. So we need to turn it into a I need to turn it into a map. What to what? Mine's got a bit blank here. So if I say strip x, well, it's like that, isn't it? It goes from text to text. And its definition is replace x with that. So here, this is the bit I care about more. This is a list of text, isn't it? Yeah, right. This is this list. Then args. Where's args at this point? Args is this. So it's the first argument to your eval. For some reason it goes parameters and then the environment. Doesn't really make sense, but that's the way I've written it. So I need to build an environment where we match we want to match each value in here, each value in here. Okay, so this is the name of the params. This is the args. Now eval pipeline. Let's take functions and an n. We'll do that, and we're calling a function. We'll take the name of it, we'll take list of params, we'll take the current environment, and we'll take the previous value. And so it's args m and that, and then the function definition args mv. So now in here, let's start by capturing n. We haven't used it yet. Actually, we don't care about the environment if it was an error. We have a pipe. We need to call it eval, and we pass the m back in again. And here we pass the m back in again. Okay, now I call function needs to use the environment as well. I randomly put it here. Why not? Okay, before the first result, we can say m.empty, so there's no initial environment. Oh, I cannot, because it doesn't go there. I'm putting it in random places. That's very annoying. m.empty. Okay, getting closer. So now, when we call it this, we will need to pass in functions m. I'm going to say m is equal to zip. I just write it in line actually because it's quite short. But I believe this should just be zip. Oops, let's bracket this. Zipping of params with args. Okay, that's not a map, so it's m.list. That is very much not happy with me now. Oh, define function. Not access to that. Okay. Define function goes functions, pipeline. We'll now go list of text. And that. And here it goes pipeline params that. This needs a dollar, and this needs pass in. Okay. So we zip params and args. type of args? Exactly. List of parameters and this list of text. And I said this was okay. I said this was text to text, but actually the reason why it couldn't be a non-literal, so you could have parameters that somehow reference the parameters. So it was just why don't we look it up again? That would, yeah, that makes sense. Look it up again. If it's literal, it stops. If it's not literal, we keep. If it's another variable, we keep recursing. I don't think that will ever happen. I'm not convinced you can write those programs. Okay, so now this is functions. That map the pipeline initial result. I've applied too many arguments now because the eval result should be something. Right. I think we got functions, pipeline, and parameters. So I'll write this out the way I understand it. So we've got the two arguments that come in are the args and then the previous value. And that will then call eval pipeline with the functions we have. It will join together the parameters given to this function against the arguments that are passed in, so it'll match the map. My thinking. Turn that back into map. It's got the pipeline, and it will return. It will take the value and call OK with it. So it should look like this: eval pipeline. These are the functions. This is that thing. Okay. So what's the issue here? Couldn't match either eval error or result. That expected values eval result, actual eval result, it's applied to too many arguments. But that doesn't help either. But I can't take that out. I don't think. Isn't that trick again? But then I don't understand that thing. Still applies too many. So it expects values at eval result and gets eval result. I'm applying to too many arguments, which makes sense, but the value I have here is b. And that doesn't work either. Okay. Think of that for a second. So we can have a function which takes 2 arguments. Let's call them args. From there, take args and the value, and we'll just error with bad. Okay, it complains about unused things, but that's basically the right form. So now I think we can say eval pipeline. And the way it was before is you pass in the functions you were given, you pass in the environment, we just do m to empty for a second, pass in the pipeline we were given, then we pass in the result, which is OKB. We're not using the params, not using the args. No, it doesn't work. Functions, environment, pipeline, and result. But the signature type of this is list of parameters, environment, parameters, environment, value. Oh, what's going wrong here? What was it before? Let me put it back to not handling. I think it was empty, but that's not what it looked like. It looked like this. Go back in time, can we? So it was functions p underscore b, eval pipeline functions p, okv. So we got eval pipeline, oh, stop that. Functions p, okv, but we chucked in an extra argument here, which is params. That should. I don't understand why that's not working when the previous one did. Because all I've done is add env after functions. It's going on a bit. So given the extra arguments, so the args and the v, the args and the v are going to be passed into this. Okay, the args and the v are going to be passed into that, but the env is not. Right. ish. Okay, so this is actually args m and v. So this is our outer m. Okay. So now I really hope maps are semigroups, because I want to even say m dot from list, and then the zipping of parameters args. Okay, but I then want to join this to the existing environment we have. And I really hope it implements semigroup. According to compiler, it does. Okay, so what we should be doing now, I think, is taking the outer environment. We're going to create our inner environment where we match up the arguments being passed in to the parameter names we have so that they can be looked up later in the test, see if it works. That is amazing. I can't believe it works. Okay, you can now write strip. So I think I can write a function with a whole program, which looks like something. So we can say strip x goes from actually. How does main work? We'll run pipeline called interact. So thing, if I say echo, let's do something a bit better. So I'm just going to UID, and now this has to be replaced. So that we compile it, but it's okay. It gets okay text value this. So in theory, I can say example. So this is going to be strip, which takes an X, goes from text to text, and the implementation of this is replace X with the empty string, and then I can write something like ID, which goes void to text, and the implementation of this can be UID to UID, and we pipe it through strip of dash, and then the program can just be ID. Okay, so we echo that. Good, well done. Maybe cap that. Okay. But also I should say well run pipe in example. Okay. Try that. The next new line. Don't know if that's important or not. I think anything else is wrong in there. Very annoying output. Simplify it then. So we're saying here strip text and X goes from text to text, place that, and then we can just say UID pipe through strip dash. I think that's the example I had in the interpreter spec. No new line at the end. It's here as well, I think. No. Okay. Parser spec. It's the parser. When we're parsing a program, and we should go with any space and then the file. Does that include a new line? Does that work? Yep. So it's not a new line related issue. Okay, what's going wrong with my example? This spaces using tabs. Okay, it might be that. Okay, that's better. So now I want to say ID goes from void to text, and definition of ID is UID, strip that, and then we can say ID of no threes as well. It goes from text to text. In fact, yeah, I'll leave it like that, and then that's just replace 3 with let's just start them out. We can go ID pipe through no threes, and there we go. Cool. Okay. I think I'm done. So I'll commit this later, but I'm going to stop on 0 to line now. That's probably the fastest implementation of an environment I've ever done, but it worked in the end, so that's cool. It's very scrappy, but it works, so that's good enough. Next week, I'm going to do something very different. I think I'm going to have a look at writing something that's not a compiler or an interpreter. It's just normal Haskell again, or like normal application stuff again. Cool. Thanks for watching along. Thanks for catching the bug with the commas. And yeah, hopefully see you next time. Goodbye.